head. That's the best part. Hey, what's up, you guys? We are live. Ann and I were just watching the trailer of the movie that we are going to review this week. We're not going to say anything. All I can tell you is it's a doozy. And speaking of that, you guys, we're actually, for the summer, we're going to merge our Friday afternoon club and video movie review. We're going to put those both on Friday because it just seems like if we're going to, especially with the movies that we've been watching, that they literally we should be drinking while we're talking about them. That's all I know. Especially this one that's coming up. Oh, yeah, that's going to require some sort of beverage or two. That's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to say anything else today because it's amazing.
I just laughed through the entire trailer, and it's not even a comedy.
It's not. It's amazing. Yes, it's gonna be awesome. All right, so here we are on a Monday, and I hope nobody out there has a case of the Mondays. And you have a case of the Mondays?
I keep forgetting what day of the week it is, so
I know that helps. I would agree.
Today was just today.
Technically, today was my last day of school. We were supposed to have a professional development day today, but not anymore. So I slept in until 7:45 today. I know. It was pretty amazing. Unfortunately, today in Dresser, Wisconsin, it is 94 degrees with super humidity. It's really uncomfortable. We don't have air conditioning, so I'm sweating right now. So how are you? What's it like in Michigan right now? Yeah.
You know, it's nice today. It's like low 80s, breezy, really clear blue sky, but we're supposed to get what you have today. We're supposed to get that tomorrow.
Well, okay. Yes, let's talk about that, shall we?
Yeah, so it's not a dry heat.
It's not a dry heat, and well, actually, that brings us to today's topic. Let's talk about today. We are doing something today called Well, Actually. It's where somebody says something to me and then I correct them because people love it when you correct their statements for them, right?
They do. I know they do.
Well, actually. All right. So let's talk about that. So, and this actually works out really well because over the weekend, my husband Joe had a question because it was actually very pleasant and temperate, good sleeping weather, if you will, last week. And then this, things have slowly changed and it started to get really hot yesterday. And Joe's like, why does it do this? Why does it get really hot and then get cool? Why can't it just stay cool? And he's like, what's up with that? And I said to him, well, actually, and then of course I explained it to him, and I don't know that he really wanted me to explain it to him, but I did anyway. So now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to explain it to you. All right. So, well, actually, what we are dealing with, you guys, it has everything to do with air masses. And if you're not familiar with air masses, an air mass, you guys, is essentially a big bunch of air that takes on the temperature and moisture, I said moisture, of the area over which it generates. And we essentially, in the United States, are influenced by 4 air masses. And so here's that picture of those air masses. And you're like, but wait, there are 7 air masses on here. And I'm like, but wait, there's actually only 4. There's just a couple of repeats. So for instance, you guys, we have those major air masses: maritime polar, maritime tropical, continental polar, continental tropical. And you're like, blah, blah, blah words, blah, blah, blah words. Really, you guys, it has to do with this. If it's coming from the north, it's going to be more polar. If it's coming from the south, it's going to be more tropical. If it develops over land, it's continental. And if it develops over water, it's going to be maritime, because maritime means like the sea or the ocean or whatever. And if we're looking at the United States, you can see we are influenced by essentially the 2 big dogs here: continental polar from Canada, and maritime tropical has a huge influence. And that's essentially that happens over the Gulf of Mexico. So here they are, just basically the 2 big dogs that control, especially if you're in the upper Midwest, which I am and which Ann is. Right. We are essentially influenced by these 2 air masses more than any: the continental polar air and the maritime tropical air. Needless to say, these 2 air masses are very different. So if you're continental polar air, you tend to be dry, cool, dense. And because you're dense, that air falls towards Earth. And as a result of that, it results in higher pressure at the surface. On the other hand, if you're maritime tropical air, Ann and I got a really close-up look at maritime tropical air when we were in New Orleans in July, a couple of decades ago. Oh my gosh. So, but that air is warm. It's moist. I just said moist again. Hey, I have a question, Ann. So let
Yes.
me ask you this. Okay, I'm gonna break off here because I find it fascinating that people get so jazzed about the word moist. And then it's
Moist.
like, well, Joe and I got into this conversation. What happens if you change the word to damp? Would that make people feel better? And then we started trying that out. They're like, instead of warm, moist air, we would say it's warm, damp air. I'm like, okay, that's pretty good. But then we were like, what happens if you apply it like, this cake is delicious and moist? But then what if you say, this cake is delicious and damp?
I would think, whenever I hear the word damp, it reminds me of a baby diaper, to see if it's damp. So I don't know if I want to associate that with my cake. It also seems like if you have a damp cake, it probably hasn't been baked enough. So I don't have a problem personally with the word moist, nor do I have a problem with the word panties. I know a lot of people have a problem with panties. I call Duncan's underwear panties all the time. He doesn't like it, but I think it's funny.
I think it's funny too. So yeah, I think moist and damp are words that you have to interchange very carefully. In this case, you guys, we're gonna stick with warm, moist air. Anyway, this empty air.
Moist. Moist air makes your panties stick to you.
That's not funny yet because my panties are sticking to me a lot right now. So I don't really think that's particularly funny. And I
won't be laughing tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, because this air is warm and it tends to be less dense because it has more energy and the particles in the air are farther apart, this leads to area of lower pressure because that air tends to rise because it's less dense than the surrounding air. Anyway, they're very different, okay? These differences are what make them great. Anyway, so here we have a picture of that. So here's our continental tropical air here. Here comes our warm, moist, maritime tropical air here. Wait, I'm supposed to say polar air. I don't know if I did or not. And what happens is they start to come together, and then here comes the jet stream, and the jet stream is what messes it with everybody, because the jet stream, you guys, basically controls where this air goes. The jet stream is a high altitude, essentially, river of very fast moving air, and depending on where it tends to be, that influences us. So in other words, if the jet stream is dipping down, it's going to pull that nice warm or cold air down with it. And if the jet stream tends to run higher, it's going to push that nice warm air up, which is exactly what's happening where we are right now. So not only does the jet stream move those air masses around, but it also mixes them together. And once they start to mix, that warm air rises, and because of the Coriolis effect, Coriolis effect. Tell them hot because I can't remember anything. I've got COVID brain still. The Coriolis effect is essentially wind getting bent in a different direction because of Earth's rotation. In the case of the northern hemisphere, everything gets bent and it moves counterclockwise. Anyway, those air masses mix together because the jet stream starts to rotate counterclockwise because of the Coriolis effect, and then we start to get these very distinct boundaries that form. Those are called fronts, and it looks like this. Boom! This is today's surface weather map from the National Weather Service. Thanks, you guys. We love you. And thank you, Weather Channel. I'd hug you and kiss you right now if I could, but in a respectful way, at a distance. Probably not. Anyway, we want to concentrate on this area right here. I don't know, can you see my cursor doing its thing? Okay, yay. Because this is the area that starts to swirl counterclockwise and all kinds of fun stuff happens. Because what happens, you guys, because the jet stream is way up here right now, it's pulling all of this moisture up from the Gulf of Mexico. And that warm, moist air is what we are feeling big time right now in Minnesota, Wisconsin, and what you're going to feel much more tomorrow in Michigan. So then you see that distinctive warm front right there. So this is the leading edge of the warm air. And then you end up in this section, which is called the warm sector. Okay. So this front right here marks the line where the air starts to get cool. And essentially what happens is as this low pressure spins counterclockwise, these fronts both move, but because this air right here is cooler and denser, it tends to run faster, and eventually this front will catch that warm front. So this whole thing moves, these two fronts move. So right now we're in what's called the warm sector. That's why it's warm and humid. This front is going to pass by us tomorrow, so then our temperatures are going to drop, and we're going to start to get that cool air behind it. See?
Yeah, because tomorrow it's supposed to be like in the mid 90s for us, and then on Thursday it's supposed to be like 71, and by Saturday it's supposed to be in the high 60s.
That's right. And so yeah, so then what happens is, like I said, is that that line right here, you see this line That marks the cold front. And what happens here, this is where you get the biggest difference between the warm and the cold air. And what happens is this cold air, because cold air is a bully, it pushes this warm air up out of the way. Warm air is unstable. Unstable air, it cools as it rises. We form clouds. And normally those clouds are big, nasty cumulonimbus clouds. And that's why we tend to get these ginormous thunderstorms right along the front edge of a cold front. And it's because of these distinctly different temperatures between this air mass and this air mass. So it's pretty cool. And I'm gonna talk about something else real quick, because like I said, this is today's weather map. And I want you to put your attention down here to the bottom of the screen at this big swirl of green right here, because this is some cool stuff. This is a really interesting, unique thing that's happening with the weather right now, is that we are experiencing tropical depression. It was a tropical storm, Cristobal, and as it's moving north, it's going to become a tropical depression, which means it's not as organized and the circulation is not as tight. But what's cool is that it will turn into what's called a post-cyclone. And this is really unusual. Post-cyclones almost always, if I'm looking at this map right here, post-cyclones almost always move in this direction that would take that moisture up around the Tennessee Valley in that area. But what's unusual about this one is because of where this low pressure system is docked up here in Canada, it's kind of keeping this depression west. And so as this thing moves north, it's actually going to move north through Iowa and into Wisconsin, and then it's going to exit through Lake Superior. And that does not happen. That's crazy. That's never happened. Or if it's happened, it's been like 200 years. It's not happened since they've started recording weather in the United States. That's a really cool thing. That Lake Superior this week will, it's going to have an opportunity to experience its first ever tropical activity. I know, right? Woo! High five! Right. Oh yeah! Hey, Liz Williams wanted to say this. She wants to say 92 on Saturday, 58 on Monday. Pure Michigan. Girl, you are speaking the truth. Jacob Houseman says it's coming right for me. That is correct, Houseman. Actually, it's Houseman, but I've always called you Houseman because I just thought it was funny. This is one of my former students from Constantine High School who is now attending Northern Michigan University and living in Marquette, Michigan. That's right, man. I just told everybody where you live, Jacob. But yeah, you're going to get hit with this, man. So I hope you have an umbrella or a raincoat, because I think you guys are going to get a lot of rain out of this storm. Where I live here in northwestern Wisconsin, we're probably going to see 1 to 4 inches, depending on exactly where the shift is. But I think the UP of Michigan, I think you guys are going to get it. So, like
maybe Jacob will get to go. Maybe Jacob will get to go surfing in Lake Superior.
That's awesome. You should totally do that. Oh, yes, you should absolutely, Jacob. You should absolutely take pictures for me, because I know you're an awesome photographer, and I would love that. And we will put them on the show.
Yes, we will. Yes.
Yes. Lori, hi, girl. Hey, girl. Hey. She is like, my inner weather person is really giddy today, as it should be. My outer weather person is super giddy today, even though I'm hot. I'm hot.
I'm one of those people that would rather be too hot than too cold. So I'm not, and then I sleep really well in the heat. Actually, I sleep really well any place I can lay down horizontally. I can usually fall asleep. So I'm looking forward to I'll be like a cat tomorrow, all stretched out and sleeping. So it'll be awesome.
I'm not. I tend to be more comfy in the cooler weather. I do. I tend to be one. I'm like, I don't mind being cold and then bundling up. I actually really prefer that. I don't like to be crazy cold, like 50 degrees, a high of 55 degrees. That's where I want to live. That's where I want to be. And I don't, so I'm not a huge summer lover. It's okay. It's all right.
I make Duncan miserable in the winter because it's always too cold, and I love the summer so much because it's so warm.
You keep a chilly house, and I keep a chilly house as well, and I'm not sorry. So,
Lori, I'm cheap. I keep a chilly house because I'm cheap.
Well, there's other things to spend your money on. I bought a new fan today. I splurged and got myself another fan today. But I got something to tell you, Ann. Guess what my husband did? I forgot. I was going to take a picture and I was going to put it on today. So I got jacked again the other day. I got raccoon jacked again. So yeah, I know. So Joe made me he used the 2 of the trees in our yard, and he made me a clever rope and pulley system so that I can, and then we put all my feeders on that rope and pulley system so that you can bring it down and up so that you can fill them, and then you pull the rope and you tie it off, and then they sit up off the ground. It's very clever.
Nice.
I know, right? I know, it's super cool.
That's impressive.
I
You'll have
thought
to
so,
see
too.
if the raccoon, if you come out one morning and he's hanging on, like,
You know
trying
what?
to like bring it down.
If he does that, then I'm just going to put piles of food on the ground for him because I'm like, dude, you've earned this. You deserve this, you little devil, you little acrobat. Yeah, you deserve my admiration.
It says that Jacob's his friends surf up there all the time. So look how cool they are in Marquette.
I know, I'm not limber enough to surf. I don't know. I can do it. I can do it.
It would be drowning with a surfboard.
You, Ann, are limber enough because you do all the yoga. You got the flexibility to do that. I could probably do it. Actually, I'm actually pretty good on a stand-up paddleboard. Not great, but pretty good. So, yeah.
They make it look easy, so it must be hard.
It's not bad. Like I said, Ann, you could do it because you've got that dancer's training. You could do a stand-up paddleboard. Now, I would not do a stand-up paddleboard on like rapids because you see these people that do them on like rapid rivers and on super wavy stuff. I would not be into that, but it's nice if you're on a nice calm body of water. It's pretty cool. So
that's cool.
So anyway, that's it. That's all I have for well. Actually, like I said, I decided to nerd out on weather because I find weather to be a fascinating subject. I freaking love it. So again,
it's very cool.
Yeah. It's Updraft. I'm going to throw it out to Minnesota Public Radio. They have something called the Updraft blog, and they do a really excellent job of just explaining things to people. And so, nice job, you guys. I appreciate you. And there you go. So yeah. For those of you that have been watching, we got a busy week. We got 10 questions coming up tomorrow. What else we have? We have a new segment this week. One of our friends, his name's Chip Maley. Chip Maley is going to be on Thursday, and he is going to talk about the series Hollywood on Netflix. He's our official. I'm going to call Chip our official entertainment guy. What do you think?
That's good.
Yeah. Chip's the official. Anyway, entertainment guy Chip is going to be on Thursday. Like I said, we are combining our Friday Afternoon Club and movie review this week, and it's going to be a doozy as far as
movie. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. But it did get 4.5 stars on Prime. So
it did. Yes. And if you think you can guess which movie it is, that's awesome because it's a doozy. All right.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's all I have to say. Ann, you got anything you want to leave with today?
No, I'm just going to look forward to my heat tomorrow.
Good. I think I'm going to have a popsicle. Yep.
Ooh. Yes, treat yourself.
Treat yourself to a delicious popsicle. So I've got those pineapple ones. They're good.
Oh, those are good.
So I'm going to eat that. And
excellent.
Then dream of air conditioning. All right. Ann Brothers, good to talk to you. And everybody, we will see everybody tomorrow. We are coming on at 5 Central, 6 o'clock Eastern for 10 questions. And you guys, we would love it if you joined us and gave us a bunch of questions. If you feel like it, you guys can do this. You can feel free to email us questions that you might have at smartdumbfun@gmail.com. Again, you can also hit us up in the comments with questions. And again, we appreciate you being here with us. Okay. All right, bye.
Have a moist day. Bye.
Or is it a damp day? I don't know. Damp, moist. I don't know. All right.
See you tomorrow.
Bye. Right on. Bye.